Good morning everybody, I hope this finds you well. It's really cool to be with you for another assembly, even if it is just through a TV screen. Now, as you know, we've been looking at our series called The Backpack, looking at some of the things that we carry around with us and what we can learn about God or about life from that. And actually today we're going to revisit something we visited last week, and that's actually our notebook. Now, usually at the end of a term or school year, sometimes we have tests or a time of reflection to look over what it is that we've learned in that year. And so that's where it's important that we've got our notebook or exercise books where we can look back and remember some of the things that we've learned. Now, I've got loads of these. I shared to you before about how I put all my work in this that I'm doing with children. I've got these going back years and years. I can see all the different things that I've done with children over the years. And sometimes I see something and think, oh, that was brilliant. Let's do that all over again. And of course, I'm in my bedroom today because there's people using other rooms in the house. And I found this in my bedroom, and it's actually a photo album of me as a little boy. There's me wearing my flares in the 1970s. Okay, but there's lots of memories in here of me with my parents, my sisters, and people like that. And so today we're just going to be looking at remembering and why it's important to remember. But right now I'm going to hand you over to Jess because she's got something to share with us. So over to Jess.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning everybody, my name is Jessie for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to bring to you the first bit of your assembly. Now, I have some items. They are chocolates, but are they chocolates or are they sweets? Anyways, but do any of you know what these are? Look like that. Do any of you know what these are? Now, I couldn't quite work it out. They could be M&M's, Starburst sweets. These could be Maltesers, don't you think? Because they're small and they kind of ish look round. They come in different colours. You know, there's a white one here and different colours in my hand. So I was thinking, what are these? And I actually had to ask a friend because, you know, I didn't really know a lot. So I had to ask a friend, what are these? And she was like, Jessie, are you being done? They're mini eggs. And so she gave me a packet of mini eggs. And they usually come like this, or they might come in a little box around Easter time. But it got me thinking, how does she know that they're mini eggs? How does anyone know that this is a mini egg? We know these things because we've had them, we've tasted them, and we've seen the packaging and we've seen what they look like in our hands, and we've enjoyed them as we've eaten them. My friend knew exactly what mini eggs were because she'd had them. She'd experienced them. She had things that reminded her of mini eggs. And I think that's kind of the same in our walk with God. In times where we're a little bit shaky or we don't feel like God is with us, we can use these experiences and use our memories of remembering what God has already done for us in the past can give us confidence and can make us encouraged to know that God has probably got our future already planned out for us. Think about it. The Bible has so many stories time and time again of when God has provided for his people or for a person or for a family. So why do we think that he wouldn't do it now? All the way from Noah to Abraham to Jonah to Job to Moses to who else can I name? David. God has proven himself faithful to all those who trusted him. So as you grow older and you go through the school years and you leave school and you might go to university or you might start a job and you go through that, you'll have your own experiences with God. And as you have these experiences, you'll be reminded that God is faithful. You'll be reminded that God doesn't break his promises and God has your best interests at heart. Your memories will serve as your own personal reminder of who God is and how great he is. So that's kind of all I had to say for today. So I'm going to hand back over to Chris, who has the next part of the assembly for you.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Jess. It's good and important that we remember. Actually, in the Bible, in Joshua 24, verse 1 to 15, Joshua gathers all the Israelite people together. Joshua is now a very old man and he's about to die. But he gets the Israelites together to remind them of God's faithfulness. And he starts to tell a story. He starts to say, you remember Abraham? Well, God called Abraham from the land he was living in on one side of the Jordan to move to another and to go to a different area. Not only that, I promised Abraham that I would make a great nation out of him, and I give him a son called Isaac. And Isaac goes on to have two sons called Jacob and Esau. And it's with Jacob that I established or created the nation of Israel. You know, the Israelites find themselves in captivity. They become almost like slaves to the Egyptians. And I heard the cry of my people, God says, and he sends along Moses and Aaron, and they confront Pharaoh, and the Israelites leave Egypt. But it's not long after they leave Egypt, actually they become trapped. They've got the sea in front of them, and Pharaoh sent his army after them to pursue the Israelites. And the Israelites cry out to God. And God saves them. He does the most amazing and miraculous thing. He parts the sea, and the Israelites walk through the gap in the middle of the sea on dry land. And then after, as the Pharaoh's armies coming through, the sea closes over the top of them. And God said, I destroyed your enemies. In fact, when you got into that land, you had to fight all kinds of people. First of all, you come up against Jericho, and I helped you overcome Jericho. You had to fight the Amalekites, you had to fight the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, all these enemies of Israel. And I, God, helped you overpower them. And I gave you their land to live in as a people. This is what Joshua is repeating to the people of Israel, letting them know just how faithful God is. And we need to remember that as well. We need a roadmap in our mind of the times that God has been faithful and good to us, because life is challenging. It throws up different challenges and different disappointments. But God is always faithful to us. That's why it's important that we read this book, because this is a storybook. It's a bit more than just a storybook, but it tells us about God and his faithfulness to us, people that put our trust and our faith in him. I wonder if there's anything that you could do today where you need a breakthrough from God to help you with something. You see, God's word tells us that he is a faithful God, and so maybe it's worth praying and putting your problem to God. And so today, let's remember of God's faithfulness, goodness, the things that he's given us, whether it's family, houses to live in, great teachers, classmates, friends. I'm sure there's lots we can thank God for today for his faithfulness in our lives. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we look forward again to seeing you and seeing what's in our rucksack and what we can learn about God.